So we know that online shopping allows us to order goods online, obviously at just the click of a button. As much as this is convenient for us, we need to be aware of some of the dangers of online shopping. And right now, Tsolo is going to chat to SABRIC acting CEO, Potgieter, on the dangers of online shopping and how we can, most importantly, protect ourselves.
Online shopping is becoming more and more convenient by the day, be it to buy technology, clothing, and even food. But if the right precautionary measures are not exercised, it can become extremely dangerous. We have SABRIC's acting CEO, Potgieter, with us to discuss some of the dangers of online shopping and how we can best shop safely. Susan, online shopping is something that a lot of us make use of, myself included. I mean, it's just so easy and convenient, but there's so many dangers associated with it. What are some of those?
Right, it's very important to make sure that when you do online shopping that you don't use devices that you're not familiar with. For example, don't do online shopping on a computer in a public space like a hotel lobby or maybe an internet cafe. It's very important that you are familiar with the security level, of that particular device. Over and above that, never shop on websites of random merchants that you have no history of. Always shop with reputable brands, because there you can assume that there will be some security measures in place. Very, very important also to use the protection that's offered to you by the card associations and your bank. Here I'm now referring to 3D secure measures as well as verified by Visa. Effectively, if you register for those, those security measures, you will be required to use two-factor authentication in order to progress a transaction. Typically what happens is a one-time PIN will come to your phone and you'll be required to also type in the PIN before the transaction is completed.
Having said that, is this an international problem that is prevalent all over the world? Just where does South Africa lie when it comes to online shopping fraud?
It's definitely a global scourge. The criminals have the benefit of being able to perpetrate these kind of crimes from wherever they are in the world. If you look at international trends, we are following the international trends. And in last year, if I take credit card fraud losses, the losses that relate to card not present fraud, which is what we call this particular loss category, amounted to about 80%. And on debit cards, it was around about 38%. Now, that is high. Also, we're expecting the figure in relation to debit card fraud to increase as shoppers are now using their debit cards online. It's good that we're speaking about it, because consumers need to understand what they can actually do to protect themselves.
That takes me to my next question, Susan. What are some of the tips one can implement when shopping online?
The most important thing to do is to protect your card information. There are two prevalent ways that criminals steal your card information. The one is through phishing and the other is through malware. Now, typically in the case of phishing, what they do is they will send a communique to the victim or just in bulk spam, and a victim will respond to it and click on a link in the communique, and the link will take you to a site where you asked for your credit card details and your other confidential information. So to protect yourself against that, never ever click on a link. That is the easiest way. And the other way that they compromise card information is through the deployment of malware. So typically what would happen here is you would receive an email with maybe an attachment to it, and if you click on the attachment, it will deploy malware onto your system. Now, the malware will be pre-configured to collect certain pieces of information and send them to a designated email address, and then of course the criminal will use that information against you.
Besides all these safety measures that consumers can practice to prevent online shopping fraud, what exactly is being done to make sure that online shopping is a safe practice?
Banks educate and share information continuously with their customers. So it's very, very important to follow that information. With regard to the security around the card product per se, that most certainly is a global standard that all South African banks and banks globally have to comply with. So banks in South Africa are very diligent to deploy whatever the standard of the day is, and if there are upgrades, of course, they will be, they will comply with that as well. well. Very, very important also, banks educate their merchants, their online merchants, and also share with them information that allows them to follow safe practices.
So once again, the onus is on us and both the banks and the retailers to make sure that online shopping is at its safest. Thank you very much, Susan. Now, cybercrime is something that is becoming more and more prevalent by the day. Next week, Acting CEO Susan Potgieter is back with us to chat to us a little bit more about how we can protect ourselves from cyber criminals.
We are brave, innovative, everywhere. We are SABRIC.